I'd like to call the meeting to order. This meeting is being recorded. I would ask, is there anyone else recording this meeting? Seeing none, would you please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We do have special recognition this evening.
We do. With your permission, Mr. Chair, I'd like to invite Haley Spafford and Mr. Gagnon, if you want to go to the podium. What I'm going to do is read for you. As you know, annually, Governor Patrick has brought together a group that he has titled Project 351. And there was an 8th grade student who represents the school districts from across the Commonwealth of Mass. And Auburn Middle School has chosen Haley. And with your permission, I will read to you the statement that is on the back of this beautiful plaque for Haley. Mr. Gagnon is pleased to announce that Haley Spafford from Auburn Middle School has been selected to participate in Governor Deval Patrick's Community Service Program, Project 351. Project 351 is dedicated to celebrating youth leadership, inspiring the ethic of service, and honoring the legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King, Jr. On January 17, 2015, Haley will represent Auburn Middle School as an ambassador at Project 351's launch day of service in Boston, and she will be invited to engage in a year's term of community service, leadership development, and enrichment. 8th grade ambassadors representing every city and town in the Commonwealth were nominated by their educators and chosen for their exemplary ethic of service, potential for leadership, and embodiment of the values of compassion, commitment, humility, and kindness. On January 17th, Haley Nicole Spafford will join over 350 8th grade students from the 351 cities and towns of Massachusetts for a day of enrichment, service, and unity with Governor Deval Patrick. Governor Patrick will begin the day with a youth town meeting at Faneuil Hall. Haley has been involved in community service learning for several years. She has volunteered at Auburn Youth and Family Services as an after-school homework tutor, worked in the summer youth program, stocked the food pantry, and has both participated in and volunteered at the Walk for Hunger. Ms. Spafford is a runner by choice and has competed in several 5K events in Auburn. As evidenced by the aforementioned comments, Mr. Gagnon and his staff believe that Haley will embrace this opportunity to learn, share, and contribute to the Project 351 initiative. As an articulate and studious young woman, they believe she would serve as a proud representative of Auburn Middle School. So Haley, on behalf, yes, definitely. So on behalf of the school committee and myself, there is a plaque, and for Mr. Gagnon and all of the Auburn Public Schools, we want to congratulate you on being such a fine young woman, and I know you'll represent us very well.
Congratulations. Keep up the good work.
Congratulations. I hope you get to be governor when you go.
Congratulations. Good
No,
job.
we just got a new one.
Yeah.
Do you have any questions for Haley?
We may have some. Anything from the committee for Haley?
No questions, just very well deserved. Very pretty. That's great. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Yeah, just congratulations. Keep up the good work. And I know you didn't want to speak because your principal tried to get you to, but I don't blame you.
There's nothing,
Keep up the good work, though, really.
Thank you.
nothing that you want to say, Haley?
I just want to say thank you for my school for nominating me to go. I'm very honored and I'm proud to be the one to be picked to go, and I'm very happy to be going.
Excellent. You must be very proud. You must be an inspiration to your classmates and to your principal and everyone in the school, teachers. And is that Mom over there? Yes. Mom, you must be very proud. You've done a great job, and Mr. Gagnon, thank you.
Thank you.
Through the chair, maybe we'll invite Haley to come back after she does the event in January and can report to us all the exciting things that you did on that day.
So take notes.
Would you like? Thank you.
Thank you very much.
We do not have student representatives
No.
report. Any citizens' comments, concerns? Okay, we'll move on to the superintendent's report.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Did want to, before we kick off our budget presentations tonight, to make you aware, I had notified you earlier, a couple of weeks ago, that all of the NAEYC, the National Association for the Education of Young Children, accreditation that has been well-deserved and earned at Auburn Preschool for a number of years, has gone through and has been reapproved, so they remain an accredited institution. And I wanted to thank Mrs. Chase, along with Mrs. Levin Savage and Mrs. Elaine and their entire teams. I'm sure there were others who helped. It's a tremendous amount of work. There's a huge binder that is collected, but it's a great honor and very prestigious. So thank you for your hard work.
Are there any comments?
Good job. I saw that binder. It's ominous looking. So good job.
I will say that recently we were at the school committee and superintendent's conference, and there was so much talk about how important it is to getting the youngsters off to a good start and how important preschool is, and we appreciate your efforts. As always, thank you. Great job.
The next item, tonight actually, each of the principals will present to you the goals of their school improvement plan and also make the connection of how they tie in with the budget requests. So with your permission, it will be the elementary team who will be presenting first. I will go down and join my colleagues, and I will end with a summation at the end.
Sounds great. Thank you.
Good evening, again. I'm happy to present the elementary school proposed FY16 budget. As you saw last evening with the presentation by Dr. Brunel and the members of the central office staff, we too begin our remarks with the Auburn Public Schools mission statement and vision statement, and of course, the shared core values. I think it drives home the point about the consistency and the cohesiveness about the Auburn Public School team, and to remind us all that these drive the prioritizing in the planning of our work. As Dr. Brunel just told you, we're going to begin with a brief overview of our school improvement plans and the general goals contained within them. These plans are supported, obviously, by our budgets and help to frame the proposed costs. Each of the plans has been constructed with input from our respective faculty and staff members, as well as our school councils. As we go through the next several slides regarding the school improvement plans, you will see that our plans outline the district strategic plan. They mirror the format of that district plan. The goals developed for each school supporting the goals in the district strategic plan. Each school building's plan is a little bit different, as each building has different needs. Additionally, this year, Bryn Mawr and Mary D. Stone School were directed to write their plans for 2014 through 2017. While Packagug School and Julia Bancroft School wrote theirs only for 2014 through 2015 in anticipation of the merger to 10 Swanson Road. The first area of the strategic plan, and subsequently our school improvement plans, is in the area of teaching and learning. I'll speak briefly about each of these initiatives. The Co-Teaching and Inclusive Practices Initiative has been a strong focus in our district for the last couple of years. We've continued to expand the number of co-teaching classrooms, as we believe that this is an important strategy that provides support to all learners. The professional development for the co-teachers has included a coaching element as well as a typical sit-down kind of workshop where the trainers have come into the co-teaching classrooms, observed the co-teachers in action, and then taken them aside and debriefed with them. Always complimenting them on the great things that they've done, like a true coach, and encouraging them for areas that they can strengthen their performance, offering new ideas and resources on how to keep improving. This year, staying with the same initiative, we've been able to provide professional development for all faculty and staff, not just the co-teaching partners, in best practices for inclusion. The SEI, or Sheltered English Immersion initiative has the goal of increasing the number of teachers across the district and in each building who to earn this endorsement. At the end of this year, there will be one teacher in each grade level in each building with the SEI endorsement, as well as all of the administrators. In my building, and I'm sure in all of the buildings, I've seen teachers come back really enthusiastic about this training, trying out the new techniques that they've learned, finding them to be extremely successful, and then sharing those techniques with their colleagues. We're finding that these strategies are effective, not only in helping our English language learners, but in helping all of our students. The next bullet here is about the educator evaluation system. This system continues to unfold across the Commonwealth. The Educator Evaluation Committee in Auburn continues to meet regularly to guide the district in this process. This year, 2 new components will be activated. The first is the use of DDMs, District Determined Measures. These measures, based on student assessments, will be used to assign a student impact rating for every educator. Based on trends, 2 years of data, and patterns, using at least 2 measures, teachers will earn a rating of having their teaching impact students' growth in a low, moderate, or high manner. This student impact rating will be first assigned to educators in 2015-16 after we have that second year of data. It will be used in conjunction with the summative performance rating that is already in place. Beginning this year, student and staff feedback will also be included in the educator's evaluation. Feedback will be gathered from students about their learning experiences in a survey format for grades 3 to 5 and in a discussion format for grades K to 2. Information will also be used to improve teaching and learning. Likewise, staff will also give feedback to their administrators on their performance in each building using a survey. As Dr. Lozay mentioned last evening, curriculum work is ongoing. The Math Textbook Adoption Committee has been carefully researching and reviewing possible new math programs. The goal is to identify 3 by early spring for a more in-depth review, with an adoption to follow in late spring. Materials will be ordered, training will be scheduled, so that the implementation can begin next year. A similar process will be used for the reading program next year, reviewing what we do, what we use, and once the Department of Education formally adopts the new science standards, the Science Committee will then review them and begin to create alignment for our curriculum. Finally, one last goal in the teaching and learning category that's relevant to the elementary grades is the exploration of expanding our preschool. A committee has been formed to begin this conversation about what else we might do, what else we might offer, and actually the committee is scheduled to meet on Monday. Now I invite Mrs. Lopez to talk about technology.
Good evening. The second goal of the district strategic plan, as well as our school improvement plan, speaks to supporting learning, communications, and operations through technology, all of which you'll see overlap and connect to overall student performance. At the elementary level, the first focal point addressed in each plan relates to our transition to the newly adopted District Data Information Communication System, the Scholar's Choice. This year, we focus first on ensuring that all up-to-date parent information is recorded and present for safety and security purposes. During the course of this year, schools and teachers will begin to develop web pages to inform parents and students alike of the classroom assignments, as well as provide updates, news, share projects, and photos. This tool, as it continues to evolve, will offer yet another avenue to communicate with parents while strengthening the home-school relationships. This year, we also seek to provide opportunities for parents to become familiar with the technology children are using outside of school and how to be proactive and cyber savvy. In this day and age, it's critically important that we, the adults, and as the adults, are informed and have accurate information to be able to safely educate our children on the power of the internet and safely educate them of their responsibilities and what they have using this information tool. At the primary schools, presentations will be developed and offered to parents surrounding technology safety. While at the intermediate schools, we'll continue through our CARE program to inform parents as well as students about the issues surrounding cyber safety and the cautions therein. Our hope is to update and train parents with all of the new technologies so that they can support their child and develop a healthy respect for the power of the internet. With regards to technology and learning, over the course of this year and subsequent years, increased opportunities for learning experiences that incorporate technology standards will be seen in all classrooms and in each of the content areas. We know that student engagement is increased when we utilize technology purposefully in our classrooms. Teachers will increase these opportunities by embedding a variety of technological tools on a daily basis, whether it's through an iPad, a computer center, the laptops, an interactive whiteboard, or other devices. These meaningful real-world applications will be constructed weekly to deepen content knowledge, as well as advance student technical fluency and strengthen 21st century skills. Technology for the purposes of instruction is seen in many forms at the various grade levels. For instance, at the end of second grade this year, students will learn to and have explicit instruction as to how to prepare and present Prezi presentations. Teachers will also, working at each grade level, are seeking ways in which to embed technology in their instruction by integrating and refining how they use technology to model their thinking and their practices. For instance, in written language, the development of composition and note-taking skills. Using Bright Links, they can transform this process so that students of all learning capacities and the various learning styles can have a positive and engaging learning experience. The final area we'll be focusing on at the elementary level is the use of technology to assess student learning. Teams of teachers are currently developing skill-specific quizzes and assessments through such programs as 10 Marks Math and Socrative, just to name two. These programs chart student performance as well as provide immediate feedback to students, parents, and teachers. This information will be used so that adjustments to instruction can be made and tailored for each child's needs. Additionally, in preparation for the computer-based PARCC assessment that students in grades 3 through 5 will be involved in both ELA and math, several goals have been developed. Teachers will have professional development throughout the year in order to prepare themselves and lessons to not only have the materials and the content with which students need practice interacting with, but also the targeted lessons surrounding the technical maneuvering and the skills required, such as scrolling, manipulating text, drag and drop fluency, and responding to complex questions in type form. All of these skills will continuously be developed, refined, and reassessed throughout the years to come to ensure our students have the best possible advantage moving forward. Thank you. At this time, I'd like to introduce Principal Kozik.
Good evening. I'm going to quickly walk you through the next two goals from our strategic plan, which are community partnerships and health, wellness, and safety. Family involvement takes many shapes. Throughout our buildings, we have parents who wish to volunteer in their child's classroom to be a support for that, as well as for the whole school, and we love that and appreciate all of that. As well, our schools also host several events throughout the year, which I hope you're familiar with some of them. Family literacy nights, which were recently held at all the elementary schools over the past few weeks, because November is Literacy Month. Family Math Night is held annually, at which time all 4 elementary schools come together. Recently it's been at the high school. We're all under one roof. And it's a fun-filled, math-filled learning experience. And we thank our math paras who all come together to create and put that on, that collaboration. Community celebrations are held at schools, student performances, as well as parent coffees and informational meetings, which are in the planning stage. Some have taken place and others will be ongoing this year. In the coming months, you'll be hearing more about those. We continue to utilize and refine avenues of communication that are available to us. Information goes out to parents in the community by phone, email, text, newsletters, web pages, the district Facebook page. We invite the Auburn News and other local media such as the Daily Auburn and other media outlets like that for them to come in and help share our story. The World Cafe event that was held at Auburn High School last fall and the subsequent meetings were for the purpose of creating this Auburn public school strategic plan. And our charge was to identify goals that would become our primary focus for a successful future. But during those meetings, needs and talents, or better yet, needs and resources were brought together. The schools, Auburn Youth and Family Services, early intervention, wraparound service agencies, and others began the task of creating a board, the purpose of which is to share resources so that we can look at the needs of a school or Auburn youth or someone that has a need, and we can connect the needs to the resource, to strengthen existing partnerships as well as reach out and create new ones when the needs arise. Awareness around the intergenerational connections goes both ways. Our students reach out to senior citizens during the holidays in songs, through concerts, and written notes containing well wishes. But the schools also invite the senior citizens into our buildings as volunteers in support of the tax write-off program we have here in town, and as guests. For example, the Grandparents' Day is a big hit at the primary level with our young friends and their very special seniors. Community service learning projects are ongoing, and in some cases they go across district between buildings. Currently, Julia Bancroft and Packagug students are working with King Arthur Flowers program called Bake for Good. King Arthur comes to school, teaches the children how to bake bread at home, and gives them all the necessary materials to go home and bake 2 loaves of bread. Wow. One is to enjoy at home and one is to donate. Packagug is donating to Auburn Youth and Family Services Thanksgiving baskets, while Julia Bancroft is donating to the Christmas baskets. No one here would challenge the fact that there are many changes in our future. Moving into new buildings means we need to visit safety plans and look at them with a new eye. What once was routine in the building you'd been in for many years will now be new. Safety is always important, and with the assistance of the Auburn Police and Fire Departments, we will ensure that we're all up to date with safety protocols, safety teams, and meetings. As you will see in our budget proposal in just a few minutes, the emotional and mental health of our students continues to be a priority. We all need a safe and respectful environment in which to work and feel productive. This is extremely important in a time when our young people come to school with an array of struggles that most of us could never imagine dealing with when we were in elementary school. And when it comes to physical health, our nurses, our custodians, our cafeteria staff, and physical education teachers all play a key role, and we've included a few of those here. I'll now introduce Mrs. Chambers.
Good evening. Nice to see all of you. So this evening I'm going to address, again, another category from the strategic plan that's tied to our school improvement plans, and that's around transitions. You'll see that these are pretty big items that are up on this slide, but I want to take a moment to say that we take the transition of our students very seriously, and we know what an impact that can have on children. So while these are kind of the big things that are coming, we continue to look at those daily kind of things, you know, kindergarten orientation, you know, the ice cream social, the picnics, those will all continue. But for this evening, we'll focus on some of the bigger things that we'll be facing in the elementary schools. The first being the merger of Packagug and Julia Bancroft. And there's already a lot of work being done around that, and that will continue through the year and into next year. Mrs. Kozak, Mrs. Lopez, Dr. Brunel, and Dr. Lozay have been working collaboratively with one another and holding sessions with staff members to begin to get a feel for the concerns and questions of the staff that will be making this transition. One of the initial meetings was held with both schools along with these district leaders, and they created a number of subcommittees on which there were members from both schools, both Julia Bancroft and Packagug. And some of the committees are addressing general questions that are coming up from staff, school traditions, right? Each school has different traditions, so how will that play out once they merge together? A transition team about the actual move, right? Questions that have to do with the boxes and those kind of things. There's a PBIS team involved with bringing, again, all the children together, but the staff as well. a team that's going to be talking about school climate and culture. You know, when you walk into a school, you can kind of tell, and everyone has a different view on that, all positive here in Auburn, but different. And so how does that come together? Adult team building committee to look at how to bring the staff together, two staffs to now make one. Student team building to let the students learn how to get to know one another and to become students in a positive and cohesive way. And configurations, who's going where, what room, those kind of things. So all of that is already well underway with lots of input from the staffs that will be impacted by that. And it's a very proactive approach that's going to really help them to create a new and vibrant community for 10 Swanson Road. Along with that, Mary D. Stone School, it will be moving up to Packagug. And again, Dr. Brunel and Mrs. Chase have already been addressing some of the staff concerns around transitions, answering questions, gathering information. Mrs. Chase has been to Packagug to tour the facility, kind of with that eye of it being a new home for her and her staff. Conversations around the students' transitional needs, because certainly, as I said earlier, you know, that's an important piece of helping students be successful, is to address those concerns that they have when transitioning. PAC, Mary D, and JB will continue to conduct open house events for students, for families, through the spring and through the summer when that becomes appropriate and purposeful for kids to see the school, for parents to see the schools, to see the new environment that will become their home. Julia Bancroft and Packagug will collaborate on parent information sessions around park testing, which you've already heard a lot about, but that's going to be new for families as well, and another transition for us. And it's interesting because each of the schools is now beginning to really reflect on their history. Schools become very personal to folks, which is nice. And so everyone is looking at how they can respect those histories. I happened to be at one school and a staff member said, you know, we're looking at this year as a year of lasts. In a lot of ways, for 3 schools, even though Packagug is remaining open, much of the staff has been there for some time. And as much as they look at it as a year of last, there's a great energy and excitement about all the new beginnings that will be happening in the district as well. And we're on to our budgets. Mrs. Chase.
All righty. So we're not going to go through and read each line item for you. You can obviously do that yourself. And I guess I would say that if you look not only at my budget for Mary D, but also for Bryn Mawr, there's not a great deal of change from year to year. I will point out a couple of things, though, where we do have a little bit of a difference. For example, at Mary D, our printing supplies cost has gone down, and I think that's really a case of us really trying to encourage staff to print to the copy machines, which is much more cost-effective. Also, if you go down to classroom supplies, my classroom supply line item has gone down quite a bit, and that's due to the fact that we order every other year our reading assessment materials. We alternate the assessment materials that we use, but we order them one every 2 years, so that for next year, we've already got them, we don't need to order them, so it seems like a little bit of a cost savings that way. Everything else really is pretty much where it has been.
And I would echo what Mrs. Chase had said. There are some minor changes. Principal office supplies went up a little bit. My dues have gone down. I've looked at that carefully. Classroom supplies in the same way. Some of the assessment materials we can alternate each year, so that went down a little bit. But for the most part, our budget has stayed relatively the same from this year to what we're requesting for next year.
And this evening, you will not be seeing a budget for Packagug and Julia Bancroft. What we did was we combined the two to show you what the expenses were for this current year and next fiscal year. So looking here, as my colleague said, there's not a lot of change. Some things went up a little due to inflation, just the overall cost of life, and some of them went down. Printing supplies went down. We can look at that due to a lot of the electronic piece that we use. As Mrs. Chamberlain said, you know, or Mrs. Chase said about printing to a copier, but also using emails and text messages and one calls. So we save on that as well. Classroom supplies pretty much stayed the same. A small increase in art supplies. Textbooks, there's that replenishing that needs to happen over time. And audiovisual with the new technology and combining those things, there's a little cushion in there as well. We're looking at combining two libraries. There may be some gaps once we pull those together and we have that new library to fill, so we want to make sure that we're able to give the kids what they need for learning.
To bring us to requests now, because we always have a few little requests. In looking forward to next year, we talk about the different needs and the different goals that we have as a district or as an elementary team. And one of the key pieces that we feel is necessary at this point is the integration or incorporation of a technology specialist. This teacher would basically provide each class with direct instruction on the use of technology, as well as utilizing the software applications that complement our core instruction in ELA, mathematics, science, and social studies. In addition, this position would have direct and positive impact on teachers and teaching and learning throughout the school. We're looking at two positions as presented, one to be shared with the primary, one with the intermediate. We're looking at preparing our students for online assessments as well as just being tech savvy and preparing them for 21st century skills moving into the AMS and high school by explicitly teaching media and technical fluency, which our classroom teachers really don't have the opportunity to be able to take that time away from the core instruction to teach those technical skills. We feel that having someone who is a media specialist will be that resource and be that provider of the information. They can also coordinate projects with the teachers, do some co-teaching perhaps, be a major support within the building, as well as oversee our our libraries, which is really the heart of our schools and currently is seen as being run by volunteers, and we truly appreciate all of our parents, but having someone at the library and being able to have that specialty to incorporate good literature into the classroom would be very beneficial. And in combining also the Packagug and Julia Bancroft libraries at the Swanson Street School, there will need to be some kind of documentation of all of these literature pieces. That's a major undertaking for anyone, be it a volunteer or what we truly need as a media specialist. So that speaks to those pieces. At Mary D. Stone, to ensure that we have the supports for our special education students, we're requesting one instructional assistant. At Bryn Mawr, same sort of position to support an inclusionary instructional assistant within the classroom. There is an anticipated need for a one-to-one based on an IEP for the upcoming year, so we are requesting a one-to-one instructional assistant as well. I know last night Pam Kaufman had in her budget, she had spoken to the need for an additional school psychologist at the elementary level currently, and we're looking as administrators, just the changes in times and the increasing social, emotional, academic, and economic complexities that we're seeing in our students and our families. The need for a full-time psychologist that can be age-specific. Currently, our psychologist is stretched between the four schools, addresses our preschool through our 5th grade. That's over 1,000 students, ages 3 through 11. They do assessments. They assess students of special needs, at-risk students, mental health issues, community resources. They're a tremendous support for all of us as administrators, and an increased presence that can be tailored to grade specific, or a primary school psychologist and an intermediate can really address those specific developmental needs of those children at that age. Early adolescence, as you know, can be quite challenging. So having someone that would be able to meet those needs and have those specific focal points would be certainly supportive to us as administrators, the students, the families, and the teachers. I think at this time, if anyone has any questions for any of the elementary administrators, or if you'd like to continue with the presentation, I'll leave that up to you. Is that?
Is there anything pressing, or would you guys like to wait till the end?
I just, one question
Go ahead,
about
Ms.
the,
Harrington.
through the chair, please. The school psychologist, you said there's one that floats around right now, so if there was another one that was hired, would there be two floating around, or would one?
Two.
Okay.
They would be focused in between the new Packagug School, the Mary Dease new location, and Bryn Mawr, and then the other would be stationed at the intermediate school to be the support there.
Okay.
While we're on that subject, what is the difference between school psychologist and a school adjustment counselor, and why are we looking at a school psychologist?
Good question. I hope I can answer this fully and completely, otherwise I'll draw on my team. The school guidance counselor has certain expertise that can address the needs of the students in various ways. They're seeing more of the response to intervention at a level where they can offer and provide services. When it comes to assessments or evaluations, they don't have the licensure or the expertise to be able to do that, particularly when it comes to special ed assessments or risk assessments, mental health assessments. That's really psychologist specific.
So if we only had a school adjustment counselor, we'll call it, then we may have to seek alternative opinions, medical opinions from a psychologist.
I think there are specific needs that a guidance counselor wouldn't be able to, they don't have the expertise to be able to administer those assessments. So you do need a school psychologist in those cases.
Okay. I think that's it until the end. We'll follow up unless someone...
If I could,
Good.
I'm confused now.
Yeah.
Do we have a school psychologist for the middle and the high school? Is there just one, or are there two, or?
Sure. So the current composition is there is a school psychologist that is shared between the middle school and high school.
Okay.
And then there's a second school psychologist who handles from preschool through grade 5. So we currently have 2 school psychologists in the district. And what they're proposing is they'd leave the secondary one intact for the middle school and high school, and would instead have one that would cover perhaps pre-K through grade 2, and the other one grades 3 through 5.
Okay. So one would cover the middle school and the high school, and you'd have two for the
Correct.
the
typically-
younger children.
Right, and the reason is, more often than not, and it's not always necessarily the case, but we always seek to identify students' needs as early as possible. So initial evaluations, those ones typically start more at the lower level, elementary, primary, even there, through grade 5. And not to say that you couldn't have an initial evaluation at the middle school or high school, but it would be far, far less frequently. So they would have reevaluations that would be done.
All right, so we're looking at bringing up the school psychologists to
3 in
Three.
total for the district, yes.
3.
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
One more question, Dr. Bernal.
Sure.
So, at the levels where a school psychologist did not exist, what have we been doing as far as addressing those needs? Have we been sending the one from the upper levels down? Have we been outsourcing?
You know, quite honestly, the person is stretched very thin. She, in any given day, and we've looked at her schedule, could travel between 4 different buildings on occasion. So I think it's really a case of seeing, and you know, we've all seen and read about that children's mental health issues continue to rise for a variety of reasons in society. So this individual would actually, it would allow them more time to spend not only doing the assessments for students to determine whether or not they need an individual education plan, but also to provide, you know, some of those risk assessments for some of our students who may be going through a particularly challenging emotional time. Also functional behavioral assessments for students who exhibit inappropriate behavior, and for us to determine whether or not they're safe and appropriate to return to school. So all of it has been happening now. It's just been stretched this individual very thin, who works very late into the day and night completing her assessments at home.
Okay, great. Any other questions on this subject?
I think in just closing, I think Steve Jobs sort of eloquently said it. Everyone here has the sense that that right now is one of those moments when we are influencing the future. Thank you to everyone on the school team.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, good evening, everyone. I'm here today with my assistant, Mr. Carlson, and we're going to present the Auburn Middle School budget. Again, the first few slides are those that my colleagues have gone through last night and tonight, all based upon the strategic plan and the Auburn Middle School School Improvement Plan. So our mission statement and our vision statement mirrors that of the district. Also with our shared expectations for students and the environment. The first slide I want to talk to you about tonight has to do with teaching and learning in the school improvement plan. And we've been invited to go, I'll give you a brief history for those school committee people who weren't on until this year. 4 years ago, we sought out and were granted a 203 grant for an innovation school, partial innovation school, having to do with STEM innovation. At that time, the Department of Education gave us a $10,000 grant to go forward and put together a plan. Our team got together, we put together a plan, and that plan was accepted, and we were awarded a $25,000 grant to operate Young Engineers Club, summer camp for young engineers, the Pittsco interactive models, and some enhancement to our Lego robotics. The district itself actually helped and matched some of those funds through the $25,000 that we had. Now we've been invited back from DESE to apply for Innovation School Enhancement and Stability Grant 158. We're waiting to hear from DESE now. This grant is a $15,000 grant. It's going to be mostly used for materials to replace and replenish those materials that we've used for the Pittsco products. I'm very excited about this slide. If you go home, I didn't want to have a YouTube video here come up and utilize that time, but if you go home and you Google Lego Braille printer, so Lego Braille printer, you're going to see that this young man, Sadham Benjiri, came up with the idea by just having a conversation with his parents at dinner. And he said, "Mom, Dad, how do blind people read?" And they said, the answer that was given today, "Google it, son." So he went and he Googled and he found out that blind people read by using a Braille printer, that what comes off from Braille. So he went and took out his Lego set, the Mindstorm, which are a little pricey, $350, and he tried and kept going while keeping his grades up, and late into the evening, and his mother comes out in the interview, says, I want him to shut off the light and get to bed, so he's ready for the next day. And he invents a Braille printer using this Lego Mindstorm. No blueprint, all on his own. Takes this product, working product, and then goes to California and gets a grant and gets backed by an entrepreneur venture capital group to a working model to a printer that is full sale size that'll sell for about $350 to $400. They normally sell for $2,000. So he's just made the life of so many people so much easier in terms of utilizing that. This, of course, we continue with our Young Engineers Club. We usually have about 40 students involved at after school. The summer camp for young engineers, we usually have about 60 students. The Math Pittsco interactive models using our Math 2 class. We've had up to 100 students during the course of the day. We've scaled it back a little bit for that. And of course, Lego Robotics is a fun club that students can utilize after school. Along with our teaching and learning for rigor, we want to recognize, we don't have a National Junior Honor Society at the middle school. Our high school has a National Honor Society. We want to have those students and recognize those students who excel, both in the classroom and community service. It's an application progress, it's nationally certified and recognized, and we want them to be honored by BOT in the society. Students that maintain a 90% average over the course of 4 tries. So entering the middle school, if they went for the 3 tries in 6th grade and a try in 7th grade, they'd have those 4 tries at a 90% average in all classrooms across the curriculum. Maintain some community service, they make application, and a review panel would review whether or not what they had for the application was warranted to join the society. The society then meets, much like a student council would meet, and they're going to work on community service projects. And I'm talking about Auburn community service projects. We've already reached out to some of the 5Ks that are involved in town, that these students could volunteer for those 5Ks in town. That'd be a mandated part of their community service project, and they'd have additional hours that they would do on their own. Again, with teaching and learning, we have now had for the past 3 years a virtual high school, and our advanced students are able to take advantage of We go through a process in the summer, looking at the advanced scores in the MCAS in both math and in ELA. And we take those students and cull them out, make phone calls during the course of the summer, and invite them to take a look at and apply for the ability to take advantage of this virtual high school. We currently have, per try, I believe we have 3 students involved per try, and it switches over. So we have about 10 seats total that we're able to utilize. We work in conjunction with the high school on this project. Students can take classes that they cannot take at the middle school. So if there's an algebra offered at the virtual high school, they have to take our algebra class, but they can go outside the box and do creative writing and some other interesting topics that they're able to do. We've also had a great books program now for the past 4 years, and that is where our 8th grade students that are advanced and or proficient in the MCAS and ELA, they're invited to join this group. Students on their own, either through an e-book and or a paper copy book, they read one of these titles here. There's a few others that we've added, and they meet during lunch once a month and or virtually. We have a very safe room that they can go into, a blackboard room, and chat about the books. These are students who really enjoy reading and really enjoy talking with others, conversing with each other about books. Health, safety, and wellness. We've heard my colleagues talk tonight in the elementary levels about staffing position. This is actually my staffing position slide, where we've done some research, and we had the University of Michigan come in 2 years ago, and they did a longitudinal study on our 8th graders that were involved. And I shared out that information with the high school as those students went forward. And our students actually were pretty much on all standards that this survey conducted, were either below, at risk, or at risk at the same as the national level. The interesting material of data we pulled out of this was that when I talked to the health teacher at the high school, that our 8th graders really don't experiment, according to them, with alcohol in the middle school ages. That's something that when they get to high school, that's something they reach out with peers and they do a lot more of exploration or risk-taking activity. So what we're looking for as a guidance counselor to continue with our Quest program. Our Quest program started many years ago, I believe, with the Lions Club, and has been very successful in talking about topics that are around mental health and around self-esteem, race relations, bullying topics, and career and college readiness. So we're looking to continue that program into 7th and 8th grade for our at-risk students. We envision the program for referrals by the 6th grade guidance counselors who have all students in 6th grade, that they would then look at 25 referrals each. These students would then go on and take an extension of the Quest program into 7th grade. And then in 8th grade, we'd be looking at some of those students who really require a lot of extra TLC. Nationally, the CDC says that 20% of our students have mental health issues by the time they get to middle school. Now, for us, that'd be 120 students. I don't think we're at 120 students in Auburn, but I would say that we're at about 10%, that those students need some extra TLC through those middle school grades, and then up through the high school, obviously. Under the health, wellness, and safety, we also do a lot to promote anti-bullying and really ways that students can reach out and really accept others for their differences. So we have an anti-bullying prevention program. We invited Dr. Brunel last year to come over, and it was a play that students put on with their peers. We purchased this through our ARC program. It had a lot of impact on our students, and they told their story and they're prompted through this play. There are students planted within the audience that stand up and speak out, and had a profound effect on a lot of students. We also bring in Quest for Respect through Canfield Productions. I've been affiliated with Canfield Production now for all of my administrative career, and they come in with a 45-minute action-packed, loud music playing, but always thematic, and the kids always have a great takeaway. We have lessons after that students can watch. So it's an excellent program. One of our transitions is that we're going to be seeking 1.5 custodians for the F-16 budget to the increased size of the footage of the new building. One FTE will be transferred from the merger of JV and PAC to the new middle school, and then we're seeking another .5 position in order to fulfill the needs of the school because of the increase in the square footage. We also plan to have, with the new middle school, as we had tonight, a few tours, and we're going to continue that throughout the building phase, but open house events prior to the opening of school, so parents can come in and community members and see what they have put forth into our community to help us out for the next 20 years moving forward. Parent information centers have been ongoing, community information centers about the new middle school, and then I'll talk a little bit later about our iPad distribution for 3 grade levels. Community partnerships, to strengthen and create collaborative partnerships. The One Book, One School is an entire school community project. We encourage parents to also read the books that we assign for the summer. This is our 4th summer of having a One Book, One School, where all of our teachers prior to summer break, we purchase the book for our teachers. They read through the book. A committee selects the book, which is very difficult to select a book for 3 grade levels, 6, 7, and 8. This year is probably, if you get an opportunity, pick up Wonder, or come by, we'll give you a copy, because it is probably the best book that we've read. It's about a boy who has a deformed face, and about that he's homeschooled, and his introduction into middle school for the first time, and how students come to accept him. It's really about acceptance. And I thought probably I had the most comments from both parents and students out of 4 years with this book, Wonder, that we read. The Life Care Center of Auburn, we've been reaching out to them. We want to start several things with the Life Care Center. One, we want to start this year a book club, where seniors and our 8th grade students can get together and read books together and discuss books, and continue that till next year when we're on site and we can have that as an ongoing basis. Also, we're looking to have them involved with a garden that's going to exist, a small garden between our two. We're looking at a perennial garden as part of our garden that we'll have on the site. And that perennial garden will serve the purpose of ELA classes to go out and write about poetry and bring those seniors over, our classes to go out and draw pictures, our science classes to go out and study the perennial flowers. This year, we also had a new club that started on Friday afternoons, and believe it or not, we had 2 teachers who stayed late into Friday afternoons. We had many students involved at the 7th and 8th grade level, and the club was called The Book Was Better Book Club. That's a tongue twister. And what they pick is thematic books that have movies that go along with them. So they'll read the book, and then after the book is over, they'll watch the movie and do a compare and contrast. And this is a non-credit course. It's volunteer. We have quite a few students who show up for it, just for their love of reading. This year as well, with the cooperation of our curriculum, our technology coordinator, we were able to push out to all our 8th graders an e-book, because we wanted students to have that opportunity to know what it's like to read an e-book online. We picked a fiction book, and those are incorporated throughout the lessons of the ELA department for this year in 8th grade. Very excited about this side as well, technology to support learning and communications and operations. Through Dr. Lozay, she brought in EdTech, which has been, they've done some great professional development for us before, and we talked about the flipped classroom. And the flipped classroom, if you're not familiar with the flipped classroom, is where teachers either make up themselves videos and lessons, 10-minute maximum time, and or go to a canned video that they have students go to. So students are able to watch that at night as their homework. They come in the next day, and for the first 10 minutes of class, they get guided practice, what would traditionally be the homework they would do at home or with their parents at night. They now do it with the guided practice of their teacher right there next to them. Some of the videos have been great that our teachers have done. This is voluntary. You know, it's not going to replace an educator, but it certainly is a nice supplant when we have the interest of students with homework at this age. It's great for them. It also is great for students who have a hard time picking up a lecture format the first time around. So you can go back and watch it again so you understand the concept. We utilize the Teachers of Teachers model at the middle school and throughout the district. We said, you know, teachers for professional development, they come back and they go into the classroom of other teachers and they teach them the apps that we have for our students and the iPads. The iPad one-to-one has been a great success this year for 8th grade. We've learned a lot through the implementation of 200 iPads for all of our students. Every single teacher in the building has an iPad, so as we put out the iPads next year to all 600, all the teachers will have had the professional development, which we learned from other districts is essential prior to having your students receive these. So back 2 years ago, 8th grade teachers received the iPads, they had them in their hands for a year, they prepared lessons, and now their 7th and 6th grade have them as well. So next year is a big push to the one-to-one, to have the entire school population have iPads throughout the day. It'll still be a hybrid program, the students will still have books, but for the most part, the expectation is teachers will be utilizing the iPads several times throughout the week. 8th grade right now, some teachers have gone totally paperless. They can push out homework assignments through email. The students can do the reports in several different apps. There's several different apps for taking notes. And we're rolling this out, and the connectability has been better in the building. It certainly has, so we're looking forward to a brand new building and utilizing that one-to-one. It's very exciting for the town, I believe. I'm going to turn over the next few slides to Mr. Carlson. And Mr. Carlson, we talked about how we're going to do the presentations. He says, Mr. Gagnon, he actually calls me Joe, that I'm a numbers guy, I'm a math guy. I'd really like to do the numbers of the slide. I said, absolutely not. So I'll turn this over to Mr. Carlson.
Thank you, Mr. Gagnon. Good evening. So what we're showing you right here is projected number of students over the next 5 years. This is currently based on what we have in the first grade all the way up, as far as our October 1st numbers. So you see right now we're at 592. 2019-2020, the projections based on what we currently have is down to 524. We don't really expect that. This does not take into account any school choice. You can basically add plus 15 every year for that, plus anybody that transitions back to the district. Any new move-ins, anything like that. So, I mean, typically we're expecting anywhere between 560 and 600 on any given year. So, moving on to the fun part. Here's our budget, proposed budget for next year. As you can see, and I won't read them all to you, but as go down, we're presenting a level budget in the first part of this. Printing supplies, principals' dues, classroom supplies, all the same. We're moving into a brand new building, so a lot of things. It's just going to be the status quo on that. Coming over here, pretty much all the same. You'll notice that our library supplies and books are up, and that is due to right now we have about 3,000 books in our library, which we'll be bringing over to the new middle school. But we're going to have this very large media center, which we're going to have to fill. So we're going to go out and purchase some new books. We're going to update some almanacs, encyclopedias, things like that. Audiovisual supplies decreased. It is a brand new building, but light bulbs still burn out in the projectors, things like that, and they are quite expensive. So other than that, everything is pretty level. And that leaves us with the quote that we want to leave you with. You must be the change you wish to see in the world. And that's it.
Are there any questions before we move on?
Comment.
I think that's it, Mr. Gagnon.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
They'll do a hiding back there.
Oh, I'm always present, don't you worry.
I don't think you're going to make it.
I have, I'll be presenting the athletic budget and the Auburn High School budget. I just need to find where I can find mine in Billy's.
Oh, Billy's.
That's my reconciliation. Oh, it's right here. I got it. Thank you. I hope so.
So once you do the high school, we'll get that.
Okay, thank you. All right, so we'll come back to the athletic budget then for Mr. Garno. So good evening, officially. Thank you all very much for your attention and for spending time with us tonight. It's a long day, and we appreciate you being here with us. So tonight, as you can see here, I will be presenting Auburn High School's budget and talking a little bit about what it is we're doing within the building, a lot of which will echo what you've heard from my colleagues this evening and last night as well. Auburn High School, we pride ourselves on honoring tradition and embracing change, and what you can see here is kind of the symbols that we've used, our mascots, throughout the years. We'll be celebrating our 80th anniversary with the opening of school in the fall of 2015, which is kind of cool. You can see there in 1935 we have what was the original. We're still not sure what the cat is doing up there, silhouetted against the against the right. Yeah, it's one of those Gestalt theory type pictures apparently. And then we can see here in the mid-'70s when we changed our colors to red, white, and blue for a little while, and then back in 2005 when we went back to the blue and gray. So we in black. So we're always mindful of, as schools, our elementary schools have said with their institutional histories, we're always mindful of our institutional history and respect all of those graduates, many of whom are still here in the town of Auburn. With respect to what you hear from me tonight, it's very similar. Again, safe and respectful environment, providing equal opportunities for all, dedicated to continuous improvement, high expectations for all, and student-centered decision making. And throughout tonight's presentation as well, you'll see the impact of our district strategic plan, teaching and learning, the technology, collaborative partnerships, health, wellness, and safety, and transitions. So accomplishments, we've opened up our freshman academy, and as Mr. Gagnon was talking about with the companion grant, we also here at Auburn High School are eligible this year for a companion grant to help supplant some of the materials for next year that will allow Freshman Academy to sustain itself. It is a $15,000 grant. We did just put it in about a month ago, and we're waiting to hear back, but we have very positive signs from the state that we will hopefully be receiving that, so we're excited that we'll have that support from the state to continue with that. Our MCAS scores remain high. We moved the Ready Step, which is a test, a short 3-section, 40-minute test. It's a precursor to the PSATs. We moved it to grade 9 this year out of grade 8, so we can get our kids more familiar earlier with the College Board testing materials, and it also allows us an opportunity at the high school to start to intercede with kids who may be struggling in certain pockets of that test. Our SAT performance continues to improve, as statistics have shown, and you have those in your executive summary. As Mr. Smolinski said last month, our AP continues to grow and do very well. Next year, we'll be looking at 17 advanced placement courses offered within Auburn High School, so that's exciting. As we also have heard in previous meetings, Auburn High School is recognized for closing the achievement gap on MCAS, and so we continue our work in that area. We hit a 4-year college high of 73% of our graduates. When I started 10 years ago, it was 58%. So it's been steadily increasing, and if we add our 2-year college students into that, we're up to about 96% of our students are going off to 2- or 4-year colleges, and our other students who are then choosing to go to the military, if not college. So we're equally as proud of them in their choices there. As you heard Dr. Brunel talk about last night, we are in the middle of an alternative education rebuild through Walker Partnerships and through some new staff, not new staff, but staff that we transitioned into new spots this year. So we continue to do that for our at-risk students so that we keep them in our high school and that we see that they get a diploma. We continue our global interaction with our Spanish friends and our friends in China, and as I said earlier, this fall, Dutch superintendents who came to visit with us, so we continue to be global on the scene. Our co-teaching continues, that initiative that's been very successful. We're going to be preparing for our 10-year decennial visit from the New England Association of Schools and Colleges in January. They're coming in the fall of 2017. We'll be test piloting PARC with grades 9 and 11 in the spring. Our STEM programming continues at the high school through a variety of programs. I believe they came last spring to talk a little bit about what they do there in their STEM programming. We were recognized by Newsweek earlier this fall as well as one of America's top high schools based on standardized test performance, based on where our students are going after high school, based on our students who are on free and reduced lunch, how they're scoring. And so it was a pretty complex composite. And so we were proud that we were recognized by Newsweek in that category. Today we celebrated World Kindness Day for the first time at Auburn High School, November 13th. We've started as part of our health and wellness program, not necessarily shifting away from talking about anti-bullying, but instead of talking about don't do this, we're starting to talk more about do this. So we're finding that to be very effective with our kids, and it was actually a huge success today. So Donna Heidemann and her students really deserve the credit for spearheading that, and so we had that today, and I suspect we'll have it next year as well. Our transition programming, we've really focused on grade 9 in really improving that as part of our maintaining students, in our district, and as well as getting our students prepared to go forward and successfully complete high school. In January, we have our students and parents come to curriculum night. In June, we have our incoming freshman class come to the high school and visit with our upper class students, get a tour, etc. And then in August, we have parents and students back to kind of one last, go around, the building. We bring in a speaker for parents to talk about, kind of the types of issues that they can be expected to encounter with their newly minted high school students. And it's been successful. We also continue our transition focus with our seniors through College Seminar, which also encompasses career, military, etc., other options that are post-secondary in nature. Next year we'll be becoming an entirely hybrid high school as part of the iPad rollout you've heard mentioned over the last couple of evenings. All students grades 9 through 12 will be iPad outfitted with iPads. As Mr. Bouvier said last night, our high school teachers right now all have iPads in their possession, and they are going through, those who are not involved in Freshman Academy, they are going through a series of trainings in terms of implementing iPads effectively in the classroom. And then as Mrs. Chase and others have said tonight, we're deep in the throes of teacher evaluation with DDMs, student growth percentile, etc., student evaluations, all of those things. Figuring out where those fit in to the process while still maintaining the process, and it is a process, but a good process. Student population, I was wondering where the graph came from. Now I understand. He did it, you didn't do it. I was so impressed when I looked at it, and I was like, wow, Joe. You can see here our student population projection for next fiscal year. Right now, using October 1 enrollments, 661 is what we have in our building right now. Next year, we always go with if every student were to come in a perfect scenario, we'd want every student to come to Auburn High School. It would be about 698, but we know that we usually have a 5% attrition rate, so we're expecting there to be about 663. So we're expecting to stay fairly level in terms of overall student enrollment. In terms of budget, I'll echo my colleagues. There's really not a whole lot of fluctuation there. As Mrs. Kozik said earlier in her remarks, some of this is purely reflective of the price of doing business, so to speak. When you look at things like commencement, being up a couple $1,000s, that also has something to do with the size of the senior class, getting diplomas printed and things of that nature. You'll see that, for example, our classroom supplies are down a little bit. We're fairly even-steven, if you will, with respect to where we were last year. The one noticeable increase you will see here is in audiovisual supplies. We have 60-some-odd classrooms in the high school. They all have overhead projectors. As Mr. Carlson alluded to in his presentation, those bulbs burn out and they're expensive to replace. They're probably, depending on the bulb, $100
to $300.
Yeah, they can be $100 to $300 depending on the type of overhead projector that we have. So rather than try and piecemeal how we're replacing them as they blow out, we put together kind of a replacement program so that when we have bulbs blow out, we're able to get those ordered efficiently. In terms of position requests, and this really goes a lot in line with what you've heard tonight, we're looking to add a full-time special education teacher to our current special education staff at Auburn High School. Right now we have 3 full-time special educators for 4 grades. We're looking to add 1 so that there would be 1 essentially for each grade level. And what that allows us to do is get more co-teaching going on in our classrooms with the additional certified special educator in the classroom. And primarily, the assistance we're looking at here is with English language arts and mathematics at the high school. Those are the 2 big areas that we see students needing the most assistance. We're also looking to increase our current school adjustment counselor from 0.5 to 1.0. We currently have a school adjustment counselor now at 0.5. We're looking for her to become full-time to deal with many issues, but 3 that I've highlighted here. Through the Office of Civil Rights, we have an obligation to provide educational support and services to students who may become pregnant or may be parenting children. And we used to have an out-of-district contract in place with a provider. As of October 1, we terminated that service and brought it back in-house. And so we currently have our school adjustment counselor now doing that work in a triangulated fashion with our school nurse and with our guidance counselors. Right now, she serves in the capacity of working in our alternative ed program with our at-risk students. We do have a very low outsourcing of student to other programs, and it's in large part because of the services that we're able to provide within the high school. With the passage this year of, or with, I should say not the passage, but with the 222, the implementation of the new law at the state level, basically students who might otherwise have been excluded in the past for various issues are now the school district's responsibility. I mean, they were anyway if they were at special education in need, but for those regular education students who may have otherwise been expelled, the high school, all high schools in Massachusetts have responsibility now to educate those students and provide them appropriate services. And then the last bullet here, going in line with what Mr. Gagnon said, being able to coordinate with middle school staff regarding early intervention and kind of getting our hands around students that are at risk in grade 6, 7, and 8 and trying to intervene as early as we can with them rather than waiting until they get to grade 9 potentially and then trying to do interventions at that point. Oftentimes in the grade 9 year, it's already out of the barn, so to speak. So from the high school standpoint, that's where we are. That's what we're looking to do. And we'll see how it goes as we plod through the budget process. Any questions?
Any questions before Dr. Burnell wraps it up and opens it up to questions?
So, just one. So how many guidance counselors do you have right now for the?
So right now we have we have 3 full-time guidance counselors, and then we have a director of guidance who has a reduced caseload. And then we have a 0.5 school adjustment counselor, and she is primarily dedicated to our alternative program at the high school.
So you'd like to make that person full-time or someone full-time?
Yeah, we'd like to see her full-time, and as part of that time, as I said, spend some of that time assisting the guidance staff at the middle school in providing, interventions and wraparound services and other things that the guidance counselors there, may not have the familiarity with or the time to address.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you, Mr. Hanfield.
Okay, so now I'm going to step into Mr. Garneau's shoes and talk about athletics, health, and physical education. As you can see here, Mr. Garneau has prepared a narrative basically addressing all of the successes that we continue to enjoy on the athletic fields and in our buildings, on and off. We have incredibly dedicated teachers and coaches who work very hard throughout our school year, as well as our students. We also have great families who allow our athletic program to have the success that it has. As he says here, last year's graduating class did leave huge shoes to fill, but we do have many, many students waiting in the wings to continue our tradition. Past school year, some of accomplishments, football being Southern Worcester County League champions, qualified for the new playoff format, field hockey, Southern Worcester County League champions, district champions, went all the way to the state finals. They will return to the state finals on Sunday at 1 o'clock. I believe this is their third state finals appearance in 5 years. They'll be playing Watertown, I believe, for the third time in 5 years. And hopefully the 1-0 score that's been the same score for the last 3 years will be on Auburn's side, not the other side. We wish them the best of luck. Girls soccer continues to do very well. Southern Worcester County League champions, district qualification. Boys soccer, district qualification for the first time in several years. Boys and girls cross country, multiple participants in the district meet, recognizing individual success. Girls basketball made it to the district finals. Boys basketball, district finals. Boys indoor track, Swickle champions. Girls ice hockey, first time playoff appearance for them in a program that's 4 years old. Softball with Southern Worcester County League champions, qualified for districts. Baseball districts, girls and boys spring track. Districts and state meets, multiple Auburn representatives there. Boys spring track were the Class B champions in their category. And our middle school athletic program remains very, very strong with a number of our kids participating there as well. Our program goals through athletics, health, and physical education, it mirrors a lot of the school goals we have here. We have community service projects that are completed by all of our athletic teams. Cable Commission deserves a huge thank you for allowing us to complete the sound system in the press box. It's wonderful. We really are thrilled with how it looks and sounds. We continue to collaborate with the Parks and Recreation Departments on field maintenance and upkeep. We do have a strong focus on academics as our students' #1 priority, and the continued commitment to sportsmanship is still alive and well. Again, as you can see here, when we talk about budget numbers, there's not a whole lot of change. There's some slight fluctuation in a couple of areas, and I'll explain what those are a little bit later in the slide. You see high school athletic transportation is up $8,000. And you will see game management, ticket takers, and officials are up $3,500. That is directly related to some new programs that we're looking to add to the high school. 3 position requests. One, an assistant ice hockey coach. The only athletic program in our building that doesn't have a dedicated paid assistant coach. So Mr. Garno, on behalf of the high school, we're looking for that. We're also looking to start a brand new program, which is Boys and Girls Lacrosse. Boys and Girls Lacrosse is a program that we've been talking about for a number of years. It is a program that I think definitely it's time that we start to go down that road. We have many students who are interested in participating currently in club teams outside from Auburn, Worcester, in the central Massachusetts area. And what this would do would be to allow us to start participating at the junior varsity level, and then in 2 years move to varsity status. So at this point, the salary that's in there is for an assistant coach, because that's primarily who coaches junior varsity. And then if that was to be successful, then we'd be looking to add, obviously, an additional coach on both sides. If we had lacrosse today, we would have enough to field a team on both sides, girls and boys, from the upcoming middle school students, in conjunction with students that we have in the high school who play club outside. You know, much like we did with the marching band, which we brought back 2 years ago, which had been dormant for a number of years, and we've seen the participation and that just take off. I think you'll see the same with bringing in lacrosse. And really what it comes down to is, I mean, that could be volleyball, it could be whatever. It's really about getting kids involved. Anytime we can get our kids involved, you know, in our school community, whether it's through the music, the arts, athletics, whatever, academics, it just breeds healthier, happier, you know, higher achieving kids. And so for the, what I consider to be nominal increases in transportation and in officials' fees, because essentially that's what it would be, I think it's something that definitely is you know, receiving my strong endorsement. Mr. Garno's as well has been placed in here in the superintendent's. As, again, we've talked about this for a number of years, at least 2, you know, maybe even longer than that. In terms of anticipated offsets for the fiscal year, you can see game management at ice time, $7,500 from fees from non-Auburn players who participate in our program. We do have a co-op agreement with our ice hockey, girls and boys, and so the sending school district pays a fee associated with the incoming students, not from our district. And then the anticipated gate receipts that we have from people attending our athletic events. So about $15,000 roughly of offsets there for athletics. And as Mr. Garno says here, winning isn't everything, but the will to win is everything. And on behalf of Mr. Garno, I thank you for your support with that budget.
Do we have any questions? Not at this time, Mr. Hanfield.
Great. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Oh.
Slide it.
Oh, that's fun. I'll let you take care of that.
It's like an extension. If you go off the edge, it shows up.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Bouvier, for your help. Good evening, everyone, again, and I have the pleasure of summarizing for you the requests before you this evening for the fiscal 2016 budget. As presented to you tonight and last night, as well as over several recent presentations, the Fall Special Town Meeting, Dr. Lozay was here earlier, principals have reported in the past, the Auburn Public Schools continues to realize tremendous forward progress, and that is only as a result of the work of all of the individuals in this room and their colleagues as leadership team, but also all of the teachers and staff of the Auburn Public Schools. I would be remiss if I did not also say it's because of the support that we receive from the school committee, the families, and the entire Auburn community. It truly is a team effort. Some of the progress that has been realized, and this is only some of it, we have high MCAS scores that continue to go higher, and we're closing achievement gaps, which is critically important. We continue to add advanced placement options, and our participation rates continue to go up because we've opened up the criteria in welcoming more students in, and they are achieving at those high levels, which is really a kudos to them. Through the community service learning and the programs that we give back to our community, it's a responsibility that we take very seriously, and our students step up, as do our teachers regularly, as well as the high quality professional development, and always it's about responding to our needs based on data. But as Ken Blanchard said, genuine success does not come from proclaiming our values, but from consistently putting them into daily action. And I would offer to you that the budget presentations that you've heard tonight and last night do just that. It puts into action, or the support that we're seeking from you to put into action, all of those values that we have as a district. Using the backdrop of the mission and vision of the Auburn Public Schools, as well as the shared core values, the 3 of these items having either all been reviewed, some been revised, but all having been affirmed through the strategic planning process that really took much of the entire last school year. All of those items really drove the decisions as we prepared this budget tonight. But at the top of every question, at the top of every request, or every discussion that we have, it is always about how will this directly impact students and their achievement. They are, after all, our #1 priority. So just as a reminder, the priorities that you saw evidence of in the requests made by principals and leadership team members tonight and last. Student safety is a top priority. We're forever grateful to the safety advisory team, which consists of police, fire, and school representatives. From the school, it's Mr. Carlson and longtime member Mr. Fahey. Student achievement. Our students continue to excel, not only academically, but athletically and artistically and musically. And all of those avenues are critically important ones for them to continue to do so. The strategic plan, we identified 5 overarching goals: teaching and learning, technology, transitions, community partnerships, and health, wellness, and safety. And the school improvement plans presented this evening really do reflect our commitment to achieving those, as does the update that was prepared for you last evening. We will have numerous transitions taking place. The ones coming up this summer are more dramatic than the ones that we've had each year, but I will tell you, as principals have noted this evening, we take those transitions very seriously. As students move from one school to the next, it's not only a transition for the children, but for the families as well. In working in partnership, we have done an awful lot of activities to be sure that everyone is comfortable knowing that they will be well cared for, emotionally as well as academically. Additionally, class size, we have an opportunity to really be sure that our class sizes are appropriate as possible. Technology is a tool to enhance rigor and relevance. I don't think there was one of the presentations over these past 2 nights that did not in some way incorporate technology into it. Next year, we will have a one-to-one initiative in grades 6 through 12, as well as having ample technology available at our younger grades. Textbooks, we're committed to maintaining our review cycle. We want to be sure that current information is being provided to our students, and that which is aligned to the curriculum frameworks, this being the Common Core in English and Math. Professional development is a commitment that we all have. We can't talk to our students about being lifelong learners if we're not going to embrace that ideal ourselves. And an educator evaluation. We need to always continue to seek to improve our practice. When we say continuous improvement, we truly mean it, and it's about us getting better at what we do and enhancing our capacity to help our students achieve. As noted in the mission of the Auburn Public Schools, it truly is to strengthen connections through rigor, relevance, and relationships. So some of the assumptions, just to review from last night, the October 1st counts were used at each grade level. We've anticipated using all of our grant funds, just as we've had from this year, and we're anticipating those being level funded, and we're hopeful that will be the case. We've utilized $124,000 of our Medicaid reimbursement, as well as some carryover that we anticipate having from the current fiscal year. We've built our budget using the same number of school choice students, a total of 46 in all. We've used our revolving accounts, our building rentals, Satellite and Galaxy, as well as preschool and athletic revolving, again, all in an effort to minimize the impact to the local operating budget. The busing fee of $100 per student allows us to have a $75,000 offset for busing. Circuit breaker has been, the reimbursement has been anticipated at 60%. Our IAs and ABAs have been noted in their current assignments, understanding that there will be movement next year. And at this point, we have the addition of 1 bus, and that analysis is ongoing. As we all know, the transition, so Auburn Middle School will transition to this new building that many of you had the opportunity to tour today or yesterday, and funding is available in the project to do so. Julia Bancroft and Packagug will transition to 10 Swanson Road. Mary D. will transition to the current Packagug School, and we do have a commitment from the Worcester County Sheriff's Office to support this. However, we have carried values of $10,000 and $5,000 respectively to assist in that process. And additionally, we've budgeted a total of $62,200 to heat and minimally maintain both the Julie Bancroft and Mary D. Stone schools. As we do each year, the budgeting process starts very early and takes a multi-layered approach. So the leadership team members, they seek requests from their staff. What is it that they need? They inventory items that they have. The primary principals mentioned the fact that they order supplies in 1 year to last them for 2 years and such. So we really are ordering exactly what we need, a true zero-based budget. Each member of the leadership team then came before myself, the assistant superintendent, and the business manager, and presented their budget requests. And then as a leadership team, as we always do, we met on numerous occasions to review those requests and engage in discussions. So here is a composite of the proposed positions that have been included in here. In the actual budget that you have from Mr. Barber this evening, these are outlined in there, but they do include the requests from the different schools. So I'll just review them quickly. A school psychologist at the elementary level, a library or technology media specialist shared between our primary schools, another one housed at 10 Swanson Road, 3 instructional assistants, 2 who will serve as kindergarten inclusion IAs at Bryn Mawr and Mary D, and 1 who will be assigned as a child-specific IA based on a student's IEP anticipated to enroll in kindergarten in the fall. A special education teacher at Auburn High School, 1.5 guidance counselors, 1 for Auburn Middle and a half for Auburn High School, a half-time tech assistant, or to make the current half-time to full-time, a half-time half-time custodian at Auburn Middle School, and a speech-language pathologist, as mentioned last night, but this would be set, the cost for this is minimal. It would be offset by eliminating the position of the speech-language pathologist assistant, who cannot do the full cadre of things required of a speech-language pathologist, and reallocating some grant monies. The inclusion of the JV lacrosse program, as well as an assistant girls ice hockey coach, for a total of $409,906. As mentioned last evening by Mr. Barber, we have included in this budget request nearly $2 million in offsets, and these come from grants, school choice funds, Medicaid receipts, building rental accounts, and actually all of our revolving accounts, as I've noted. And this truly is done in an effort to minimize the impact to the town's operating budget. The total budget request is $23,881,807, which actually represents a 3.92% increase over the approved rate of FY15 of $22,980,672. And just for comparison purposes, last year at this time, at the first request from the school department leadership team, we were at a 4.29% increase. This is a snapshot of over the past 7 years as my time as superintendent, and looking at the increases that have ultimately been approved. The original year was a decrease in what we had requested from the town of $13,850, and you can see that the requests along the right-hand side, that which was approved, the final one obviously not being approved yet and won't be until the May town meeting. But even taking the current request, and if we were to find the mean, looking at over these 7 years, it equates to a 2.27% increase over those times, which takes into effect, obviously, contractual obligations, supplies and materials, and obviously all of our needs of students. I believe, and I think the leadership team, and I believe all of you believe, that those increases really reflect the commitment of the Auburn Public Schools to work with the town of Auburn. We are all in this together. You know, as I was preparing this slide, this is a statement that's been in here for pretty much every year, I think, that I have presented this summation. In weathering the fiscal challenges, some would say that we're nowhere near as in dire situations we were a few years ago, but I believe we've always taken a very fiscally responsible approach in bringing forward a budget while also addressing the educational needs as we deem most appropriate. But always, we have stayed committed to our mission, to educate and prepare students for the opportunities and challenges of a changing world. I did go through and look not only look at these in terms of rigor, relevance, and relationships, but also in terms of the overarching goals of the strategic plan. As you can see here, and I won't read these to you, I'll highlight just a couple of them, in terms of rigor, whether it's STEM programming, our co-teaching, the park readiness, iPad integration, or the keys to literacy trainings that have taken place. We have made a commitment to be sure that we are challenging our students at all levels while providing the appropriate amount of support that they need to be successful. In terms of relevance, the educator evaluation system, it really mirrors the goals in there are tied to the district goals, the school improvement goals, our strategic plan goals. There's work that happens over the summer, and it's very relevant to exactly what teachers are doing and working on with their students. In terms of relationships, we believe in a strong team, whether it's horizontally or vertically. We've strengthened our transitions. It's when people work together that we really find the success, and I believe that's really the reason that the schools have moved forward as much as they have. And then finally, responding to needs based on data. The data should tell our story, and to look at it, and where we have challenges that remain, we need to support in those areas. In special education subgroup, as we noted recently to you, or in several recent applications, that those children need additional support. So next steps moving forward, as you know, the town's budget kickoff is anticipated. We have not yet had a date, but I would anticipate we're looking at early December, just as last year. The governor's budget and preliminary Chapter 70 monies, we have a new governor who will take office in early January, so that may delay the Chapter 70 numbers even more. It may not, but I know historically it often does. We began this process, as we always do, very early to be sure that you have ample time for discussion and questions. I know this evening you're getting for the first time a probably 20-page document that has every number for the entire budget in here. You've gotten overviews, so that will take some time, obviously, for all of you to process. We have been living this and breathing this for several weeks now. So at the upcoming school committee meetings, December 3rd and 17th, and again on January 7th, you'll have the opportunity. This will be part of each agenda. We'll add it there. We'll be able to answer questions. You may have questions of us. We may be able to provide additional information to you. The goal that we really need to be sure to keep in mind is having the draft budget to Town Manager Julie Jacobson by January 12th. So we'd really need to take a vote on the January 7th evening. So Tom Landry said, setting a goal is not the main thing. It is deciding how you will go about achieving it and staying with that plan. I think all of us recognize that the work that we do every day with students is not easy work, but it is work that is absolutely, absolutely worth doing. And each of us in the room here believe that, and so do all members of the Auburn Public Schools team. And that's where I really think that we derive our most success. So we're committed to continuous improvement. We all believe that our students deserve the very best we have to offer them. And on behalf of the leadership team, I thank you all for your continued support. I would be happy to answer any questions or turn it over to my choice of leadership team member to answer. How will that be?
Excellent. Well, I'd like to start off by thanking the leadership team for being here tonight, taking time out of your busy schedules to better help us understand what we're looking at in the future here as far as budgetary needs. And I guess what we'll do is open it up to a round of questions, but before I do that, I would like to share with my fellow school committee members the fact that this doesn't have to be the end of the questions. If you have a question tomorrow, the next day, next week sometime, if Dr. Brunell doesn't have the answer for you, if I don't have the answer for you through Dr. Brunell, she certainly could reach out to the leadership team. So don't feel pressured to ask questions until 10, 11 o'clock tonight. Tomorrow is another day.
You'll be here by yourself.
Yeah. I don't think so. So with that being said, again, I thank you, and I apologize if we do become long-winded in the questions, but I'm sure there are going to be a few. And if it's okay with the board, maybe we'll start down one end, and we could, you could always follow up on your questions, but we'll...
I've got one.
Several.
Okay, well, why don't we start down that end, and again, if Dr. Brunell can't answer the questions, she will find someone who can.
All right.
Ms. Hampton?
Okay. The cyber safety training for parents, I'm just curious how that would be implemented. Would it be meetings held, you know, at night for parents to attend? So that's kind of what you're thinking. Okay. Just curious. This might, excuse my ignorance, this is my first go-around at this.
Okay.
So what are the 504 supplies? What's that mean?
So 504, a student who is not reaching his or her potential or is struggling academically, so you can have an IEP or a 504.
Okay.
And that would require, may require some additional materials and support to help them make effective progress.
Thank you. Okay, that one's done. Sorry. So the chapter 222 that you're talking about where with suspension,
Yes.
the kids that are in suspension,
Mm-hmm.
could we use the iPads to keep them on task?
We actually do we've contracted with the firm Edgenuity, and they can actually take courses online. So this is brand new to us. That was a big topic down at the conference. So that's one opportunity. Certainly we could, with the iPads, continue to support them that way as well. So we really we're required by law to offer a couple of different options for kids in order to have them have their education continued. So technology could certainly be one of those.
In the high school budget, sorry, I'm jumping around here, I noticed there was a big increase in the graphics. What does that mean exactly?
So the graphics department, Mr. Hanford may need to supplement this, but the graphics department, last meeting of the meeting before, the graphic arts teacher was here and presented with the students who had done some outreach with the local business and come up with that. So I know that she is really looking to expand that portion and do more outreach with the community and with businesses, so to be able to get them some enhanced materials to even refine the work that they have done already.
Okay, okay, great. And I guess that's it for now. I'll see if these other guys ask some questions.
Ms. Harrington, do you have anything?
You all good?
Yeah, I'm good.
Oh, Anthony, I just have a couple. I'll make it short and sweet. But first, I have to say, I'm just really impressed with everything that I've learned tonight. I'm very pleased that my little family will get to go up through the system. It just makes me very proud to be an Auburn resident. So I'll make the questions short and sweet. First of all, I just noticed varying principal professional development amounts. Is this just your wish list, or?
That's actually contractual, so
Okay.
for those principals who are in the doctoral program, the school committee has agreed to increase during the time that they're in the program.
Okay, short and sweet. And then the only other question I had was actually about the middle school library. In the increased cost that we have, given that we are giving all of these kids iPads, and I know that we heard about the technology budget last night, will we be actually using any of this to add e-books that aren't textbooks? So, I'm just wondering if there's a cost savings just looking at the difference between the textbook cost and the e-book cost for academic studies. I'm just thinking for...
So we're definitely, feel free to supplement this too, we'll be adding some e-books, but we also want to enhance the paper books, the hard copy books that will be in the library for students to take out. So students we were just talking actually about this earlier today in our tour. Some students really, and through the e-books that have been purchased, enjoy reading a book on their iPad or their Nook or what have you. But we also want to be sure that there are enough, I don't want to call them real books, but that's what I want to say, real books in the library as well. And there really has not been a substantial amount that has been added to the middle school library. I mean, to have a collection of 3,000 books at a middle school is really minimal, so this would actually be able to expand that a bit for them.
Great.
So we don't have empty shelves.
Oh, okay. Yeah. That's all I have for now, but I know I'll have some follow-ups in the coming weeks, so bear with me.
Dr. Brunel, all the different positions and requests for personnel that were asked for, I think are wonderful, and I can certainly see the need. With the budget going up $901,000, I'm wondering, does this go back to what we were presented yesterday with all the fixed utility costs? And how much of that is actually the increase as opposed to the various personnel that are, what's the percent, I guess? Which way does it go? Maybe.
Sure. So using rough numbers, the $900,000 increase total, new staffing increase amounts to about $409,000 of that. So we'll say that's $400,000. So the other $500,000 does account for any contractual increases for any collective bargaining groups whose contracts have been settled. It includes the utility cost increases. It includes the minimal increases in supplies and materials that you saw come forward. So that's the compilation of everything. So I would say of the $900,000, with $400,000 being new, you're looking at that's about 45% is for new positions, and 55% are just
like fixed costs.
Fixed costs, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, you're welcome.
I thought you were going to have to answer them.
I'm here for when she's done.
Is that all, Ms. Holloway?
That's all for now, thank you.
Mr. Page?
I just got one question. That usually when you give us a budget, when we discuss the budget, we have 3 or 4 different scenarios. And I want to know why you have gone away from that and if you could bring that back.
So we actually, on the first night, we bring forward a budget just like this. So we're following the
Right.
same format. And then if the school committee requests it, and it sounds that you may be, then you ask us to go back and look and see, so what would it look like if it was at a 3.5% increase or a 3% increase? So we can do that, but we never bring that this evening. This first pass-through is really an opportunity for the leadership team members to share with the school committee the items that they believe are needed for next year. So then, there's obviously more work to be done, but this is the same process we always follow.
I guess we can both disagree, but I would like to see that scenario again in the future.
Well, I'd be too confused if we had more than one budget tonight, so. But I'm
Yeah,
willing.
but the thing is, if you get the information in front of you, you don't have to make a decision
No,
tonight, but you
no.
have it in front of you, you can go home and study it, and
Okay,
that's what we do.
okay,
And that's it.
okay, I'm willing to
And how long
study it.
do you teach?
Oh, a long time.
Okay.
I'm willing
That's it
to,
for
I'm
me for
willing to do
tonight.
my homework.
That's it, Mr. Page? All
Yeah.
right, moving right along. Dr. Brunel, this is one that you may be able to answer. If not, maybe you could get the information for me.
Sure.
And I'm just curious, how do we compare to other schools of similar demographic as far as staffing for guidance or we'll say mental health positions that we're kind of seeking in this budget?
I do have some of that information, but not at my fingertips. I could certainly return with it, though. We do regularly look to see in terms of, like-kind schools, in terms of the number of students to have that, but I don't have it offhand. I could get it for you.
Okay, and that's not to discount the requests
Sure.
that are coming from the leadership team,
Yep.
because I appreciate your efforts and I appreciate the need for those positions. I'm just curious how we compare, that's all, to some of the other schools. And I guess and it all ties into budget, of course. A couple of the other questions, as far as the lacrosse team, and I will go out on a limb and say, if all works out with the budget this year, I do support that. How about fields? I know lacrosse happens the same time of year as football, I believe. How would we?
No, that's
It's not-
Spring.
That's in the spring?
Yeah, the club teams do fall and spring, but the actual season is in the spring.
Okay.
Usually it parallels with the baseball season.
Yep.
Okay. Excellent. Well, as I said, I'm in support.
Could I ask a follow-up question on that?
Absolutely.
Does the money you've asked for the lacrosse include the equipment they need, or? I mean, because I know they use those sticks with those little baskets on them or something.
Yeah, so what
Whatever it
Mr.
is.
Garno had requested was a little over $11,000 in total to
Mhm.
support the initial program,
Okay.
which would include all necessary
Oh,
parts, including uniforms and
oh, okay.
equipment.
And
Okay.
basket sticks?
And basket
Yes.
sticks.
All right,
Yes.
perfect. Any follow-ups to that?
I don't know what to call
Ms.
them.
Harrington?
How many AP classes do we offer right now?
15 will be 17 next year.
Yeah, that's great. And then the World Kindness Day, when you were talking about the do this instead of, don't do this, that's genius. Kids need to be told now what to do to get through instead of bringing out what they shouldn't be doing. Then they feel like they're going to do it, So I think that's a really cool thing. And yeah, all of you guys are great. I'm lucky. I feel proud and I'm lucky to help serve you guys and make your wishes come true. So thank you.
Okay. My other question, I guess that ties in with budget here, is the kindergarten IA that we're seeking. Obviously, or the IAs, I should say. Obviously, the one-to-one, that's cut and dry. The other ones, how are we determining the need for that? Is it trends, or is it something that we're seeing at the preschool level?
This actually continues the support that we provide, and we're able to, for the first time this year, that every grade at every school has at least one inclusion IA at it. We did not put that in place for kindergarten last year. The model that we have in our preschool program is there are a number of ABAs, Applied Behavior Analysis Instructional Assistants, that are there with the teachers, and rather than assigning children to one individual directly, it's really a team approach. When they come to kindergarten, and obviously the expectations are increased at that level, some students, based on the severity or challenge of their needs, require the assistance of one individual to be working with him or her all of the time. Adding an inclusion instructional assistant at kindergarten, they would be able to do as they do in grades 1 through 12, cluster students who may have some special needs into one class, and that instructional assistant would support a number of students at one time.
Okay, excellent. And again, not to sound like a broken record here, I do support your needs here, and this is just basically for my information and for those listening at home and for my fellow committee members. That's all. I definitely am in support of these positions. And then I just have a couple of operational questions, I guess. I don't know how closely this ties into budget, but while I have you all here, as far as the park testing, Mr. Hanfield mentioned piloting the park test at the high school. Will we get the results this time around, or as the pilot, we still will not receive the results?
For the pilot, we won't. So we did a pilot up through grade 8 last year. We didn't get any results, so that will be the same for the high school this year. And they still will have the MCAS graduation requirement for several years to come. Okay,
so they will be taking multiple tests, and we will not be getting the results?
For park, correct.
Okay. I guess I would support maybe sending a letter to the state. I don't know if we've already done that, but I'd like to get the results of these tests. If we're putting the students through this double testing, I just think it would be a good idea, and I don't know how the leadership team feels about that, but I don't think it's a huge deal to have I know my child took both tests, and I don't think it was really that detrimental. However, I just believe in results.
Sure.
It's kind of what we stand for here.
I'd be happy to draft a letter and bring it to the next meeting.
Excellent.
The committee, sure.
That would be great. And my other question, operationally, I guess, again, not tying too closely into the budget, but we talked a little bit about Scholar's Choice.
Mm-hmm.
How often are we communicating with the parents, or how many teachers are actually taking advantage of that? So is it a weekly thing? Is it every couple of weeks that the parents are able to?
Oh, the parent portal piece?
Yes.
I don't know if we
live
would
all the
have,
time.
yeah, that's live all the time. I don't know that we necessarily have data in terms of how often our parents from middle school and high school, we could get that. I know that I reported it last year.
Yeah.
The number of parents who had enrolled and the number of,
Well, this year we gave everybody, we sent everybody the account.
Right.
So it wasn't, in the past years, they actually had to go through an enrollment process.
Okay.
This year we mailed everybody out
okay.
an account.
Are we
so
able to see how many are viewing it?
We can probably check logins.
Yeah, so through logins, we can probably get that information to you.
Okay, well, I don't want you to dig too deep.
Mhm.
Actually, my question is based more on how often are the teachers updating?
So the expectation that we had set back when this first went into play, and this is actually our third year with it, we had the parent portal, was that at a maximum within every 2 weeks, the teachers were to be updating all of any grades and materials that they had. I would say to you that they do it far more frequently than that, and if any issues arise, it goes to the principals and they take care of it. But the teachers have really stepped up and are keeping these current, because having that information available to the parents of students and for the students themselves, it's really a nice self-monitoring activity for them to do, to be sure that they actually are getting in the homework as required, and to see how they're doing on tests and quizzes and things.
Absolutely. I am supportive of that as well. I'm just curious as to how successful it's been. And my final question, I think it may have been answered, but I may have missed a piece of it. Principals' professional development at the high school level. Does that mean Mr. Hanfield is going
So we
for his
actually have,
doctorate?
it's
Additional-
contractual. If they're in their doctoral program, you as school committee approved an increased professional development line for
Yeah.
them during the time that they're in the doctoral program. So those are the increases that you see in 3 individual lines.
Okay, just making sure it wasn't a vacation or something.
No. That I'm aware of.
That stuck right out there, at 2,500. Thank you. Are there any questions, any further questions from the board?
I only had one, because you brought up the PARCC testing at the high school. I didn't realize 11th grade students had to take testing. I thought it ended with the 10th grade MCAS.
With MCAS, it has.
Oh.
Should the state make the decision to move to PARCC, it will include 11th grade
It will
students.
include 11th.
It will, yes.
And is that because it's more college readiness testing?
Yes, I think that really is one of the thinkings behind it, is really about their readiness for college and career.
Okay.
So to make it a little later in their education
Sure.
program. Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, I'm gonna echo some of the sentiments of my fellow board members here. Something that I might have left out. As always, I give you credit for these thorough presentations. Every time you come in, I'm blown away with how thorough you are and how much you put into it, and it kind of shows how much you care about the students, how much you care about the district, and how much you care about your profession. But what I never do say is what my fellow board members said, and that I am proud to be a parent in this town, and I do look forward to both my sons continuing their education in Auburn. I think it's a special place, and I owe all of you a little debt of gratitude for that, and I look forward to working with you in the future. And I guess that's it. We can dismiss.
They are dismissed.
All right, great. Have a great night. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye, everybody. Have a good night. Thanks. Thanks. I think that's Mark's backpack. Yeah, he's still talking.
And Rich, I never get a chance to thank you publicly either.
Yes.
Thank you for your efforts. And for the wonderful pictures. I'm just in a thanking kind of mood.
No, what's up with that?
It's almost Thanksgiving.
Get ready for Thanksgiving.
He's getting it out now.
Thank you, I appreciate that. All right, Dr. Brunel, you're up again.
Thank you. So I wanted to make you aware, the Madrid trip that you had, it's a modified exchange trip, as you know, had approved it last year. Unfortunately, there was not enough interest in students going, so they were not able to go this year. We do have a group of students, French students, who will be going to France in the spring, and, you know, they wonder if perhaps that may have drawn from it a bit, I don't know. But we certainly, so we're just putting it on hiatus for this year and do look forward to bringing it back next year. The next item, you had requested, as school committee members, to do a tour of the schools, as has become our tradition each year in December. The life skills class at the high school is planning to hold their holiday party on the Tuesday, December 23rd, which is immediately right before the holiday break. I'm happy to give a tour on a date that works for all of you. I would just say to you that the day right before the holiday break may be a little more chaotic than normal, and I don't know that you would necessarily see activities that are more typical, but there are holiday concerts all throughout the month, so it's certainly up to you, and you don't need to decide tonight, or Mrs. Zotner could poll you to see on what dates worked for some and not for others, and find one that works mutually convenient, and I will certainly clear my schedule. I think it would be nice to be in a school during one of the holiday concerts, especially for those who may not have children in the schools to go, but I can work around your schedule, so it's really up to you.
I will say that I believe I was the one that requested the special holiday treat, just because I felt it to be very meaningful last time, and what we witnessed, and in the spirit of the holidays, it was just a fantastic tour. That being said, I apologize, but I will not be making the tour this year. Given the time that I took off from my position to attend that conference last week, I will not be attending, so I will leave it up to the four of you to work it out with Dr. Brunel and Elaine as to what works best for your schedule, and I think that's probably the best idea, to just email Elaine, so we don't, unless we need to have some discussion tonight. Okay.
The next item, circuit breaker, as you know, and we talked about it in here, is a reimbursement that we get each year for services that we provide to students, most notably out-of-district tuition costs that you approve for students who really have substantial needs. Much like with Medicaid that we get, that money goes immediately to the general fund, and we need to annually request from town meeting to have that taken out and paid back to us in reimbursement. What we recently learned, and it's a Department of Revenue regulation, that the amount, and we had anticipated using it as offsets, again, to minimize the budget from the current fiscal year and next, that we had carried forward an amount larger than the amount we should have. What DOR says is that you can only have at the end of your fiscal year the amount that you received at the start of it, correct? You can't have a balance larger than that. Mr. Kazanovich, he was first made aware of it. We had a discussion, Mr. Barber, myself, Mr. Kazanovich, and Town Manager Jacobson. None of us were aware of this. We did ask DOR to still send the money to us, and they said it needs to go into the general fund, and we will need to seek reimbursement as we do through town meeting. So I wanted to make you aware of this. Mr. Kazanovich and Town Manager Jacobson are in support of us getting this. This is money to reimburse us for money that, as a school committee, we have paid, as school district, we have paid in support of our students. So at an upcoming town meeting, likely later this winter, or if not in the spring, we will seek reimbursement. So I just wanted to make you aware of that issue, and actually would appreciate a vote of support from you that at the next town meeting that comes up, that we actually place this article seeking, and it's the amount of $144,519.81, that we would seek that to be returned to the school department.
I'll make that motion.
Do I have a second?
Yes.
Is there any discussion?
No.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. It is a vote.
Great, thank you very much. And as indicated in the slides, we do have 3 upcoming meetings, December 3rd, the 17th, and again on January 7th. So I'll take whatever direction from the committee that you would like to offer, and as a leadership team, we will continue our work.
Sounds good. And we do not need to go into executive session?
We do not.
We do not. Okay, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Okay.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
What about Wayne's request for the other budgets? Is that already,
Oh, I already thought.
we're all set with
was
that?
understandable.
Okay.
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 All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Good night, everyone.